we have to talk about the financial results briefing we had, right? So I have a video coming up for that. It should be done by today. If not, it'll be out tomorrow. I have that, and then I have a follow-up for it, which is the one video. I've been amending the one video so much because not only is just like some information become out of date, some of the information also becomes more relevant. So I just keep updating this video because I want it to be the best form of the video on the internet. It is the Tweety final remix for Neo. So I'm definitely gonna touch on it. Like I said, I put a lot of bells and whistles into this, so you know, thanks for being patient with me on this one. I want it to be a really good video. But yeah, so what they were saying in their fiscal report is that the titles such as Outriders, Replicant, and The World Ends With You and Life is Strange had net sales that were lower than the same period last year, right? And that's understandable, right? So it doesn't sound like a bad thing overall, right? And people say this, right? People say this all the time, right? It doesn't sound like the worst thing, right? It doesn't, because Outriders and Nier Replicant, right? Both of those games, they advertise for both Nier Replicant and Outriders. Both of those meant lower sales than the same period last year, right? When they both had to go against Final Fantasy Remake, right? Final Fantasy 7 Remake, banger, right? There's nothing you could do about Final Fantasy Remake being a banger, right? That one was good. What else happened? What else they released last year? They released FF7 Remake and they released something else. Don't quite remember what it was, but anyway, they did those. So that obviously you can't beat those, right? That game is infamous. FF7 is the godfather of like RPGs as we currently know it, right? So archetypes and things like that got built in Final Fantasy 7 for sure. Certain ones at least. And Marvel's Avengers, right? So FF7 and Marvel's Avengers, right? Both of those titles together, Marvel being the headliner of all, you know, and this was supposed to be like the best game ever, right? They've been advertising this for 3 E3s, I think, 2 or 3, right? They were making a Marvel Square Enix game that was massive online multiplayer live service game, right? And now this game is suffering, by the way. But it is still advertised, right? It is advertised out the wazoo, right? Advertised like crazy. FF7 Remake advertised like crazy. Every media outlet, every YouTuber talking about it like crazy, right? So, where does that leave us? That left us, right, near The World Ends With You, with no coverage, really. No real, you know, advertisement anywhere. I feel like the most advertisement we got was out of the channels and content creators like Venti, Random, This Podcast Ends With You, Olu, you know, Lost in Shibuya, you know, all those people, right? Monane, all the people that like constantly make Tweety content, right? Amongst myself, right? We had to push this game ourselves. We had to, you know, cultivate a community. We had to, you know, go on Twitter. Alta Rob, you got them, you know. You have, I don't know how you pronounce it. It's in Japanese. Anyway, we have quite a few phenomenal artists, right? We got Decravit. We got, we got Anna. I mean, we have a lot of people, right, that just promote The World Ends With You, right? But we're very community driven, right? We're very community driven. There was not much PR given to this game, at least in the States, right? In Japan, you have like murals made. You have a full-on mobile game. They had an event where I remember they were advertising at 10-4. So of course it'll do good there, right? Everywhere else in the world, I mean, most of us only speak English. Where do you get your sales representation for Tweety at? Where? You have Tweety Spain on Twitter. That's on Twitter though. I don't think they have a YouTube. So where do you get these sales from? Where do you pull the sales at, right? I feel like we're doing all the heavy lifting, you know? Like influencers can only do so much, right? You have to believe in your game yourself, right? Famitsu made a cover for it. Cool, right? They had a demo for it. Cool, that pulled a few more people, right? But the base of advertising for this game was non-existent. Like, what makes you want to pick this up, right? You either saw it in Kingdom Hearts, right? You had a friend that played the original. You picked up Final Remix when it released. Those few things are the only things that really went into, you know, making Twiwi or Neo Twiwi marketable, right? So like, we did all the work, right? We pretty much did all the work. Funimation really didn't talk about the Twiwi animation much, right? So Twiwi animation was not really a gateway for most people. In fact, what you had to do was you had to have a friend that said, hey, go check out this Twiwi animation, see if you like it. There's a new game coming out. I don't know, guys. So there's just a lot that didn't go right. I don't know. It's not, and trust me when I say our sales were not bad, right? Our sales were not bad. So I don't think they visualized them right here, but they visualized the entirety, right? So now when we go down a bit more, right? So we got Neo, right? Neo, the world ends with you, okay? So you have Neo, the world ends with you in Q2, right? Or second quarter, right? So first of all, I don't know if Neo was truly in the second quarter. It kind of was, but it kind of was not, right? It was like June, right? The end of June, right? So end of June is right before, end of early July, right? Is right before Q3 starts, right? So where did you get the sales, right? Where were you able to get the sales between the last day of July and the beginning, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, fiscal reports start in February, correct? I believe fiscal reports start in February. So at what point do you get sales? At what point do you get sales between July 27th? I don't know if I've been saying January this whole time. Where do you get sales between July 27th and then August? Not much, right? Not much movement. So in fact, what you had to look forward to, right, was Life is Strange pulling most of the weight. You had to look forward to that. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, right? I feel like the Neo, the World Ends With You did not underperform like they were saying, right? They kind of just threw it in as a last second try to fill the gap type deal, right? I don't quite think that was fair, right? I think because we put that sale in Q2, right? February, March, April, May makes up Q1. Then June, June, no, I messed up. February, March, April makes up Q1, right? May, June, July makes up Q2, right? July is the very end of Q2, so there's no way that it could have made up the sales for Q2 last year, right? Especially when Q2 had Final Fantasy in it, I believe, right? Wasn't that when that came out? No, it didn't. It came out in February, so that was in Q1. But it still couldn't make up those sales, right? Because Final Fantasy VII Remake was too far along, right? But I don't even think it was the fact that they put Final Fantasy on a pedestal. It's just that they did not promote Neo, the World Ends With You correctly everywhere else. Like in Japan, I'm sure that game, if they just went off of just Japan sales, it would have did fine, right? It would have been fine. It would have did great. But your problem is that you did not market it to every other country, and that's been the mistake that they've made for a lot of games that they've released, right? They haven't marketed it well for everything else, right? So like I said, and this is what I was saying earlier, so literally you had Life is Strange, Neo, the World Ends With You, Nier Replicant, and things like that, right? Those were all just this year, right? So how do you expect that to measure up to Final Fantasy, one of your mainline series, and Marvel? One of the only games of its kind, by the way, where it's a live-action Marvel game. You can't. Even if no one played that game, right? Even if no one played that game after they bought it. Everybody bought it. Everybody bought it, right? So, yeah, so they promote Final Fantasy, yes, that's very good, yeah. I mean, even so, like, with poor marketing, right? Even with poor marketing, there's a gap that was filled by the content creators. That's what I was saying. Like, because you had like people like me, you had this podcast ends with you had Monane, you had Venti on Twitch. Like, we had a few other people on Twitch too, right? I'm sure. We had a lot of people on Twitter promoting it, right? So I really don't think we underperformed. I honestly don't, because not only is it too soon to tell, think about it. That game did not come out that long ago. It's been barely 4 months. Barely 4 months, right? Not only did they not promote it, right? We've had to start promoting it a little bit better, right? We've had more people come into the community to promote it. They had, they had the show going on, but who was the show for? It wasn't for people that did not already know about Wardens with You. They didn't promote it as such. They didn't even promote it really. I remember Funimation talking about it like the first week it was going to release, but nothing beyond that, right? Nothing beyond that was talked about. So who's to say, you know what I mean? So who's to say? Also, like, I mean, because like Nioh is in such a weird bubble, right? It is a sequel to a game that no one has heard about, that you did not promote, that you made an anime that most people didn't know existed or could not watch unless they had Funimation. That was another barrier. Every other game has been on a Nintendo console. You had to do a little bit of groundwork for this one. You had to. There's no way. There's literally no way that this game was going to sell ridiculously well. And I wonder what their initial expectations were for it. Like, what were their initial expectations of it? Because one thing you see, right, is they say right here, launched multiple new titles but did not reach the level seen last year when we released major titles, right? So the two major titles that released last year was Marvel and Final Fantasy, right? You had Outsiders, Nier, Nioh, and Life is Strange. I'm willing to bet this, right? I'm willing to bet Outriders did not do better than Nioh or Nier. I can bet you this. Complete certainty. Life is Strange did not do as good as Nioh or Nier Replicant. I can bet you this with absolute certainty. Nier Replicant may have done maybe a little bit better than Nioh the Wardens with You, and why? Because Nier Automata just came out on everything. It was on Game Pass, it was on PC, it was on everything, right? Nioh was the first of the series to be on everything, but even when it was, they only put it on console first and then put it on PC later. And even when they put it on PC, they put it on Epic Game Store, which I barely use. Like, it's really weird. Like, there was a day like where I forgot, cause I was like, man, I know I have Nioh the Wardens with You, and I could not find it. You know why? Because I was looking on the Steam store. I don't use the Epic store. I just bought that on Epic because I was the only place I could get it. It's just, it was yeah, and I think it will. So Saimatsu, I think it definitely will. I think it definitely will reach that level. But what it's going to take, right, is it's going to take a re-release. Now, I'm not going to go into that any further because that is a video that I am still working on. Like I said, that video has become more and more relevant to today as a whole, right? That I keep remaking that exact same video, right? It's been the video that I've said is the big project I've been working on. Like, that video has been worked on for so long that it's probably burnt by now, right? Like, I made the video, some information came out, I revised the video, some information came out, I revised the video, some more information came out, and now I'm currently revising the video again. Now, not only is this a high production value video for me, just as a whole for this channel, like, this is probably going to be my best production, like my best video coming from this channel. I can guarantee you this. Be the best video that I have ever released on this channel. It will be. But yeah, so it's very relevant to what's happening now, right? So let's say, alright, so what happened with Persona 5, right? Like, I normally don't want to bring this up, right? And I'm not going to bring this up in the video at all. This will not be touched on in the video, but since we're on stream, I'm gonna be completely real and transparent with you, right? What happened with Persona 5, right? It did decent, right? It built a core following. But then what did they do to grab everybody else? They re-released it. Is that story canon? No, because Persona Scramble does not have any Persona Royal characters in it. So anyway, guys, until next time, this has been your boy Zeta Slow. I think we're gonna cut it here. Like I said, I'll talk more about this in the video. But then until then, guys, I need you guys to stay healthy, stay happy, and stay groovy, y'all. Alright? I appreciate everybody coming through. Thanks, Saimatu, for coming through and sticking through. Thanks, Dua, for coming through. I know you had to dip, but I appreciate you. Dad, thanks for coming through. Mira, thanks for coming through. I know, like I said, this was just a on-the-fly type deal today. I definitely want to touch base with you guys again soon because, like I said, this is a good conversation piece. This is a conversation piece that I think we need to talk a little bit more about. Like, I kind of want to reach out to Ahmed and them and see if they can have me on for a moment so we can talk about this and why it didn't do well. Like, there's a lot here that needs to be discussed that has not been talked about. It definitely has to be preached on, and I feel like there's a lot of angles you can look at this from. So anyway, guys, until next time, stay healthy, stay happy, stay groovy. This has been your boy Zeta Slow, and we are out of here. All right, peace.